So let's switch gears a little bit because I know you
Yeah.
also do a lot of commercial. You do a lot of commercial real estate transactions. So give me a little bit of background about that. Like, how did you get into that? And like, what should be the consider? What are the considerations, or what are the issues, common issues that you face when there's a commercial real estate transaction? What are you looking for?
Yeah. So as I mentioned, the first 7 or so years of my practice outside of the US, I was traveling as an in-house counsel. Well, I happened to be, it was a real estate investment and development company.
Right.
So, the bulk of my work was really structuring real estate transactions, whether it was sales, whether it was leases, whether it was development, or all of the above, right? Anything to do with essentially buying a piece of land or real estate, and then going through the life cycle of plannings, permits, development, construction, and then final sale of the product, in both the residential and commercial space. So I really cut my teeth there in the legal context. Before that, I happened to come from a family background that was in real estate anyway, as well as in business. And that's sort of what drew me to the law that I love, because I came from a family business background, small business owners, my parents were, that, slowly over time grew it, where there was both a real estate component and a business component. So I was always fascinated by how those things interplayed, right? But the legal considerations behind those, the contracts and all the rest of it. So that's where that's where I got the interest. That kind of lit the candle for me, and then developed it in the legal context post law school and when I was with this company. So, here in the US and locally, what do I see a lot of on the commercial real estate side that we get involved in? At least I think there are a few parts. One is on the acquisition side. So on the acquisition, that may be syndication of a few people, or it's just clients, whether they're in the healthcare space, whether they're traditionally just in the real estate space, right? Or investors, they're just looking to acquire real estate, for their business. Or often, and certainly for the landlords we represent, we're kind of handling that landlord-tenant relationship, in the leasing context. But otherwise, for a lot of our business clients, they're often in leases with landlords, and so in that context, we are kind of going through the whole plethora of lease negotiation and making sure that our client really understands, because once you're in these leases, you're pretty locked in. They're very tightly written. So you really cannot afford to just kind of skip over a 30-page lease. The small print and the devil is in the detail, right? And again, that's what the pandemic showed us, because everyone was trying to get out of their leases, or they were trying to enforce their lease covenants, So a lot in the commercial real estate leasing context, we have seen, certainly. But beyond that, it's otherwise been development issues and working with contractors. So, we have a few clients that are moving into spaces and then they're building them out. So, you really want to ensure and understand, firstly, if there is a landlord-tenant relationship, how does that work? If not, how involved you need to be in the whole permitting and licensing space, working with the city and building officials, make sure all the permits have been pulled, make sure you've got the CUPs, the change, or the occupancy permits, the conditional use permits, working with land use council if we need to, if there's going to be any zoning issues, working with licensed contractors, so important. You want to work with licensed people, right? That you can hold their feet to the fire. So then we're really working on the contracts and with the architects and the construction team to make sure they're delivering timely, that they understand the project, they lay out a schedule, there's key performance indicators where if they don't hit them, there's going to be penalties, right? And we're spending a lot of time negotiating those sorts of things. And there are a lot of great forms and out there that can make the process a lot easier, whether it's through the California Association of Realtors in terms of leasing and other things, whether it's the American Institute of Architects, and they have a lot of AIA forms for construction projects and so on, where relatively straightforward. So there's a lot of good resources out there. But in the commercial real estate context, that's often what we see.
So I'm curious, are you normally on the tenant side or on the landlord side for these kind of transactions? Or does it, are you
No, it's a good mix. I think we probably weighted 65 or 70% tenant, 30% landlord. And then I think on the acquisition side, we are probably 80% buy side, 20% sell side. Often our clients are buying rather than selling their property.